slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness. A reflection of the emptiness, hilarious. You think you're worth my time, you're delirious, mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains that last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams into modestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something not...
Race fans, welcome to Redline Racing Network. We joined this race, 45 laps completed out of the scheduled 120. It's been a live feed look-in from about halfway through qualifying. Currently to just a couple moments ago, I've had some big-time incidences out there on the racetrack involving Ken Robnett, Brandon Broby. Literally, the one car went skybound. Looked like a space shuttle taking off. That was one of the most bizarre crashes I've seen in a long time. But nonetheless, we still have, at this point in time, 13 cars out there on the racetrack. The only one retired, or excuse me, 2 race cars retired. That's Robnett and Brandon Broby. Both of them were featured in that insane incident here. Quite frankly, you wouldn't think a wreck of that magnitude would happen at a racetrack like this, yet here we are. Pit stops underway. 32, down pit road. Joe Stafford, of course, out of Philadelphia. Should be 4 tires, 2 cans of Sunoco Racing Fuel as the jack goes up. And he is down and away. Jurgensen continuing to lead here at almost the 50-lap mark. He was down on lap 11, along with Hickson Jr. out of Hamilton. Bryce Boyer, in this battle here around that 3rd, 4th, and 5th position has been hot and heavy. And it has been ferocious of a battle. I mean, these guys are just lighting it up right now. Side-by-side drag racing here across the start-finish line. Bryce, of course, South Florida's favorite driver. Trying to vibe in the Kellogg's ride and trying to hold off that Ford Fusion just behind him. In fact, this battle's been so good, it's kind of hard to keep the cameras off of it. Is Nathan Jurgensen once again drives off into the sunset. I'm going to start calling him Sunday Money, but Bill France Sr. used to refer to Earnhardt Sr. as. However, because they don't race on Sunday, we'll just call him Saturday Money. Jurgensen doing Nate Jurgensen things as he has a 6.4-second advantage right now over Donald Hickson Jr., and this is where it starts to get good in the neighborhood. Bryce Boyer down last on lap 18, so he's got a couple lap fresher shoes than the 34. Yes, he was down on P11. Then you're back to the lap 18 mark with Taylor Benjamin, who has a bumper full of Josh Connors out of Elwood, Indiana, who's having a great run out here so far this evening, just outside of the top 5, as he currently resides in that 6th place position. Biggest mover of the race from Bad Luck Racing, the head cook, chief, and bottle washer, James Pandolf. Up 5 positions from where he started, currently sits in that 7th place position. Gary Farnsworth Jr. may have other plans, because that 42 currently owns and occupies that 8th spot. Then you got to go back about 13 seconds. That's where you'll find Mooch in the 9 ride. Having a great run, too, as well. He's been after it in the early going of 4 spots. Stafford's going to round out your top 10. However, he was just down pit road on lap 46. The G-Man in the 73 down lap 47. So there's a 1 lap difference between Front Row Joe and David G here. Keep that in mind, is now. The hot, fast, and heavy boys are down pit road. There's the 34. Here comes TBB. Connors is in as well, and Farnsworth Jr. Wow, those pit lane cameras are horrible. I apologize for that. Now it's all jacked up. There we go. They now pit out. Why did it teleport? Can you reset that camera for me, please? Thank you. It's just out to lunch right now. There we go. 34 still in his pit stall. Extended stop, perhaps getting some damage repair. As you see now, the 8 down and away. That's Hickson Jr. And that's going to cycle Bryce B to the point. All 3 drivers inside the podium are all up 10 positions each right now. That's Brower, Pandolf, and Mooch. All up 3 positions right now. However, they're going to have to come down and pit as they've been out there for a decent amount of time. So green flag pit stops just about finished up. Except for these 3 drivers out in the front, and then that will cycle Joe Stafford, who played the undercut on Jurgensen. And I like this call by Stafford. He's gotten a good dose of what that 31's capable of, and in fact, I think this entire league has. So he's going to try to go off cue, off strategy here. And so far, it looks to be a great call. Able to take advantage of those fresh Dr. Feelgoods a couple laps earlier. Let's go up the pit strategery on the main screen for you folks at home, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Stafford down on 42 compared, or 46 compared to Jurgensen's lap 53. Joe able to utilize those new tires, get a little extra mojo from under the hood, put it down to the pavement. Was able to leapfrog Jurgensen. Remember, he had a sizable advantage. I want to say it was north of 5 seconds before that cycle. So you can see just how important those Goodyear Eagles are here. Stafford currently about 5 seconds ahead of the 31. However, Jurgensen is closing quickly. I would say Jurgensen's probably going to use a little extra tire here running him back down, but we've seen Superman in this 31 where just nothing seems to faze him. Not tire wear, the mechanics of the race car, the racing surface, the heat. He just goes out there and lays down a beauty every time he's under green flag conditions. In fact, last time by, he ran a 34.33 to Stafford's 35.46. Pandolf decided it was time to pull the trigger, come down pit road, as he now has it locked in his box. Good execution there, good entry. Pit crew is going to go to work, and he'll load that up with Sunoco Racing Fuel. He'll be down and away, and that will cycle front row Joe to the point, as it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood for him. You kidding me? Jurgensen's already sliced that advantage in half. 2.38 seconds back in closing, like a Sidewinder missile fired off an F-16. You can see how that is just being eroded away by Jurgensen. I mean, it is down under a second. Let's go on board the 31 as he's supersonic out there on the racetrack. Look how quick he's closing in on your leader. Remember, folks, this interval, this deficit was north of 5 seconds just a couple laps ago. Stafford continues to run a full, or Jurgensen continues to run a full second quicker a lap than the 32. Listen to that car sing as Jurgensen puts his foot back in it for all it's worth. And he is there. Battle for the lead is on. Superman's going to take a peek to the inside here. The man out of Philadelphia. And as good as he is in that 32, knows how much quicker than Nate is right now and lets him go to fight another day. You know, that's something to keep in mind. If that opportunity presents itself, the times it right, you know, Joe Stafford can do the same thing again and potentially win the race as long as he doesn't leave too much time on the board for Jurgensen to run him back down. So something for the 31 camp to pay attention to. Or does someone else try it? Does Connors try it in third? Does Hickson Jr.? Taylor Butcher Benjamin? As this battle right here continues to be nuts. I mean, you could pitch a 10 over these guys, legitimately. Laps, or excuse me, 66 laps not written into the history books of this 120 lap event tonight here in primetime on Redline Racing Network. We're going to go with wide open, all-out coverage into our first commercial break, and I'm pretty sure that'll be the only one for the night. Make sure our sponsors are taken care of. Then we'll be back for continuous coverage all the way to the checkered flag, post-race and more. Stick around. Don't go anywhere.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations. Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad.
Race fans, welcome back to Redline Racing Network, where Nathan Jurgensen still continues to put on a dominating performance here. As once he was able to catch this man who undercut him, and it worked, so keep in mind for later. However, did not take long for Jurgensen to get around him, and now has opened it up, if you can believe this, to a 7.34 second advantage already. The pace in this 31 is absolutely borderline unbelievable. Last time by, he ran a 36.07. Joe Stafford, though, however, not that much slower, a 36.13. Keep in mind, there's a bit of a difference between the laps on their shoes on their race car. Jurgensen came down last at lap 53. Stafford took the undercut. He went full-blown high-stakes Las Vegas mode, and I love the call here. However, and just as I say that, and Nathan Jurgensen just busted back into the 35.88 second bracket as Stafford's on pit road. Look at that man attack the pits. That's how important pit stops are here in DRL. When you're having to do this and execute in the trenches under green flag conditions, with as good as the competition is in this league, you have to be on the verge of out of control at all times, and he was on that pit entry. Going to keep right here with him all the way to his box, clean entry. Does anyone follow? Is that enough to lure Jurgensen in? Perhaps kind of get him off of his game plan. Stafford's down and away. And that should be his final stop on the evening. This is scheduled distance, 120 laps here. Currently work lap 85. Everyone else continues to stay on the racetrack. Oh, Jurgensen is it. Perhaps Stafford showed the Joker, the ace up the sleeve, a little too early. Jurgensen's not going to fall for this again. Knows there's not a lot of laps left in this race. Is not going to allow him to generate that type of an advantage this time down pit road versus the last. Gary Farnsworth Jr. down for his final service in the 42 machine. Mooch, similar story. Hey, Ryan, Matt up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, I found you guys hiding over there off in turn number 4 in the secret hideout.
I told you he'd find us.
Yeah, I told you you'd.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, Mootre told me he'd find us.
Smart man. Curious, you got the 9 ride parked in pit lane. You've been there for a little bit of time. Did you get some damage on that race car, or is it you decided maybe to put it on the hauler and call it a day?
A little bit of both. A little bit of damage, kind of hard to drive, and just time to cut my losses and call it a day.
You know, this racetrack, I mean, I don't got to tell you, you've been out there ruling it, grinding at it. No banking in the corners at this place, hardly at all. It's hot, the sun's baking the racing surface. What's it like out there trying to keep this monster planted to the asphalt?
It is very difficult. You gotta be very gentle on throttle. You gotta really set up your corners and try not to turn the wheel too much.
And that easier said than done.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, another thing I want to ask you about, since I kind of got you in a spot where very rarely do I have the opportunity, because obviously you're in a lot of these races, and when you're out there on the racetrack, last thing I want to do is jump inside the race car when you're trying to take care of 10 other different things. However, this opportunity is a little bit different. That incident to kick this race off, I've never quite seen an incident like that where a race car looking like a space shuttle taking off into outer space. Did you happen to catch that from your point of view?
I just happened to get a glimpse of it in my rearview mirror, and yeah, it was quite an interesting sight.
You wouldn't think that would be possible at a racetrack like this, but that was probably one of the most bizarre things I have seen in a long time, and I just wanted your two cents on it before I cut you loose.
Well, the way that these front bumpers are shaped and these rear bumpers are shaped, it's just a perfect little wedge right there, catapult, whatever you want to call it. But it'll happen.
Yeah, it's like driving a javelin. It'll do the way it picks up the back of that race car, and if you hit them hard enough, it'll send you skybound. And we've seen that on the instant replay. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you joining us up here in the booth. Want to wish you a happy Sunday evening, and hopefully we'll speak with you again really soon.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to you later.
Have a great night, sir.
You too.
Told you guys we track them down. They don't know I know their hiding spots. They might be in the Hello Kitty chat next week, but we'll find them there too. I won't tell anyone. It's our secret, guys.
Yeah.
Always appreciate him and his time joining me up here in the booth while he decides to park it. He's had enough of this place. And I don't blame him. I tried to turn a couple laps out there in this race car. I couldn't keep it anywhere on the racetrack. I was mowing the grass, grinding the wall down, everywhere from where I should be. And yet Jurgensen's out there making it look this easy. 23 laps remain for the Gen 4 missile. You know, I think it's safe to say Jurgensen, well, he kind of has this all blacked out, matted out race car. Kind of throw a tribute to the man in black, Dale Earnhardt Sr. But I think on the virtual side of things, it's safe to say he could drive a unicorn or My Little Pony paint scheme, and he would still instill fear into everyone out there on the racetrack with just raw speed and talent. Tell you what, got to tip the hat, though, to Joe Stafford. He is keeping him within the county as far as real estate's concerned. I mean, you go back to Hickson Jr., who's no slouch, and he's halfway between Florida to New York as far as real estate's concerned out there on the racetrack. And again, the hot spot for the action on the racetrack is these spots. Third through about that 6th place position. Bryce has had his hands full all race long. Connor is going to try to throw a little slider on him here. Side by side, door to door. Barney digging the drag race in there at the line. Now, who's got the lug nuts to throw it in there? Oh, they almost high-five each other. The 5 gets squirrely off. We all know how Bryce loves to do the dance off the top side of the racetrack and give me a heart attack up here every time he does it. As that battle now dissipates for the time being. Right back to it. Bryce is going to stay on the assault. Another wiggle coming off the corner. I don't think he's happy with that race car until the back end is kind of floating, kind of just doing what it wants on quarter exit. I mean, watch the rear end of this race car when he comes off the corner. I mean, in Top Gun, they said it best. Loose is fast and on the verge of out of control. And that's exactly what the 5 is living by right now. 51's going to send her down in there. Now watch the wiggle here. Watch the back start to get... You see that? You hear it, the RPMs fluctuate. I mean, that is walking the line. I'm not talking about the song, however. You could throw that in there too. I mean, that car just does the dance right off the corner every time. That's how hard he's having to run to keep Josh Connors behind him, the new guy. Josh is going to keep it turned down low, Eaton on the bottom. The 5's going to chase it up the racetrack. He's going to drop the MC Hammer. Can't touch this. At least that lap, or that corner. So he's going to keep all Kellogg's inside the top 5. And that's what they're battling for. Top 5 here at the end when all is said and done. Farnsworth Jr., who's in 7th, too far back to really throw his hat into the ring. As he's about 7 seconds off the back of this battle here, which continues to only get better. Wow. Stop. Come on, man. Come on. No. We got to hit the brakes on this one. We're going to engage the flux capacitor, little VHS mode here. Did you see him drift the corner? Look at the front wheel. Look at the front tires on this race car. Are you serious right now, Bryce? Watch this. Would have thought it was Thursday night tandem drift competition out there. The only thing we're missing is the tire smoke. See if we can zoom in a little bit better here. Here we go. Keep your eye on those Goodyears. Talk about flirting with disaster. Somebody cue the Molly Hatchet. Back up to the point. The man large and in charge, carrying the torch. 3-1. You know, this is a driver where you really don't have to say anything. you don't have to. I don't have to give my 2 cents. I mean, proof is in the pudding. I mean, I don't have to hype or amp or talk this guy up at all. He does it all through the cockpit of that race car, week in, week out. Butcher Benjamin, you know he wants to get inside the podium. He's got 1 spot, and he's got 2 boys just in front of them that are about to have a heavyweight bout here as we approach the gentleman's handshake lap this time by. Benjamin wants to see these guys battle, duke it out. That'll only slow down their lap times and allow him to close in and throw his hat in the ring for another podium before this one is said and done. Joe Stafford continues to be impressive here on this flat track. Track temp still awful hot and sticky out there. 113 degrees. These cars are not making a lot of grip to begin with. It's greasy. It feels like the Waffle House dumped the bacon grease out there. And he is sweating to the oldies right now. In fact, all these guys are. I can promise you that. There's now just 9 laps remain for this man. Richard Benjamin about 0.8 of a second from that 4th place battle that has not let up at all. Excuse me, the 34, that is not for position anymore. Tony is back in that 9th place position, so that, while it looks great, is not for position on the racetrack. So TBB actually is trying to chase down Hickson Jr. So he has a little bit of turmoil. Got another race car between him and that next car for position. And that 34 is really dialing up the excitometer inside Donald Hickson Jr.'s pit, or excuse me, cockpit of that race car, that Budweiser DEI throwback Chevrolet. Mar, I appreciate that very much. I see you. Thank you. In fact, we'll go ahead and pin your comment there to the live chat. Five laps to go. Time running out for Taylor Butcher Benjamin, the 2nd most winningest driver in DRL history. And I know he's got to hate hearing that, because you know he wants to be number 1. I'll tell you what, many podiums, top 5s, wins as he rips off. It's only a matter of time before he takes over that top spot. However, he's going to have to try to find an answer for this man. With just 4 laps to go. Mr. Automatic, Mr. Clutch, whatever you want to call it. The Intimidator 2.0. He does it at every single type of track configuration you can think of. You know, let's go way left of center. Let's throw him on Long Beach. The circuit in California for open wheel. Let's throw him out there. Maybe that'll get him off his game a little. Probably not, though. 3 laps on the board. We await popsicle sticks in the air. Next time by, just 2 to go. Saturday night money. Cashing out, or getting ready to, once again. Look how planted that race car is in the racetrack. The poise, the control, just everything it takes to accomplish that on the final lap. And if you've never tried iRacing, or if you have access to someone that does, just go out there, and even if it's not your thing, just try to replicate what some of these guys do. And I think you'll have a new respect for just how difficult it is. As Nathan Jurgensen now sends it through the turns 3 and 4 complex, or the 1 and 2 complex, down the backstretch. She's going to let Rip Tater Chip at the line. Jurgensen is going to do it again, ladies and gentlemen. I got nothing to say. I've said all I possibly can previously. I got nothing. We're just going to roll it. We're going to roll it.
Stop now. Keep your hands up, get them in the sky for the homies that ain't making it, my folks locked down. I never went nowhere, but they saying loot is back. Blame it on that contour, the hood call it Ludiac. And I'm on this foolish track, so I spit my foolish flow. My hands go up and down, like strippers' booties go. My verses still be serving, tight like a million virgins. Last time on a college remix, now I'm on the original version. Can't never count me out, y'all better count me in. Got 20 bank accounts, accountants count me in. Head on the swivel, you know serving me's a no-no. Clean as a whistle as I pull out in my Rolls Royce. Yellow bone passenger, they see it, they say, oh boy. Tell Cali, back it up, my niggas call me loco. Down for armed trafficking, don't make me pull that fofo. Ask you what you laughing at, represent that mud life. Dirty money, bitch, you better get your mud right. We come together, holding hands and holler hood life. We all strapping all black, it's like Bud Light. Riding or what? Cause we riding tonight. Now you riding with me cause you wasn't riding. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get it up. And every time I step up in the building, everybody has
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I got nothing. All that man does is win, no matter what. Let the song speak for itself. I mean, bow out. But can't count out, like I said earlier, what Joe Stafford did incredible. And how about Donald Hickson Jr. in that Budweiser number 8, doing that pink ski proud, coming home in that third place position. Gonna reset the graphics here, folks. We'll be back 30 seconds. Driver interviews, final thoughts, right here. Don't go anywhere. Be right back.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Race fans, welcome back to Redline Racing Network, and the man in black does it again. Does not seem like it's an actual human being behind the controls when it comes to this 31. Tell you what, Superman lives in the digital world and masks himself as Nathan Jurgensen driving this 31 car. So we get ready now to speak with our top 3 drivers, give them a chance to speak with their fans, their family, teams, and they are now standing by, ready for their post-race interview. That's interesting. How did I get pulled out? Oh, I hope they know I'm coming. I switched Discords to talk to Mooch, and I forgot to jump back in DRLs. Here we go. Joining me now in the Tony Trapassa Memorial broadcast booth. He had that 8 machine vibing out there in the baking heat of the day. Donald Hickson Jr. got a copy there, buddy. Joining me now in the Tony Trapassa Memorial broadcast booth. He had that 8 machine vibing out there on that baking hot and slick racetrack. Put out a heck of a show. Basically had his hands full all race long in the trenches. Doing a heck of a job wheeling in that race car. Comes home to a solid P3 finish. Donald Hickson Jr., how you doing, bud?
Pretty good. Good to talk to you. It's been a little bit. It's nice to have a mistake-free race.
Man, you put together exactly a mistake-free race, but man, this win did not come easy for you. I mean, you had to fight for this one pretty much all race long. I mean, talk to me about that battle. I'm going to call that the battleground positions because you guys were in an all-out dogfight for most of that race. Mm-hmm. How were you able to, first of all, not wad that race car up? Because I could tell you guys were on the verge between grip and slip a lot. And, in fact, not hit anyone. You guys all kept it clean. But how were you able to survive all the chaos and come home with that podium at the checkered flag?
So this is only the first time I've ever ran this track during the day, so it's a lot slicker. So I just had to. I already know this car's pretty easy to kick around. There were some people shifting. I personally can't. I didn't even bother. I didn't see a point. I just thought I'd burn my rear tires up. But it's just really being careful with the gas because you have so much power you're trying to put down, and there's not much banking to hold you. So. You got to be real patient, real patient before you get back to it fully. And 1 and 2, I was making up the most time. I would say I was always trying to enter high and exit low because I could point the car better and mash the gas sooner and it wouldn't kick out from underneath me. But I had to always keep an eye on people behind me because if I slip, we one slide, they're right there. So I just had to just get in a rhythm, stay on that white line up through 3 and 4 in particular, because if you drift up or whatever, it's just hard to get back down. And every time people do that, that hurts them. So I just try to minimize that.
Yeah, and that's only one of, many things you're trying to keep track of. Obviously, a lot of rear view mirror, seeing what the other drivers are doing, what type of, offense they're going to counter to your defense. And then, as you said, you slide up off the bottom, you basically open the Golden Gate Bridge, or, a route. And it's hard to come back down that racetrack because if you try to force that car back down, that back end isn't guaranteed to be there when you try to make that recovery or to make that move. And when she does take off, we've seen early in this race, violent, one of the most bizarre and wild incidences I've seen in a while. When these cars do break free, you better hold on for the ride. And you did exactly that the whole entire race. What a drive from you. Before I cut you loose, man, who do you want to thank who helps you get it done on that Budweiser number 8? That floor is yours.
So honestly, I just want to thank iRacing for simply existing, as silly as that sounds. Growing up, and stuff like that too, I'd always play, racing games or some stuff this is like a dream, essentially. iRacing itself is that it exists because this is something that I've always wanted as far as a racing game goes, and I just only wish I had gotten into it sooner. And then obviously the league itself for setting the race up the way they do, long distance, usually half distance. I like the conditions they set them up in, and it always presents a good challenge. Especially today, I'm pretty sure the track's over 130 degrees, and it's hot and slick, and it's just all kinds of fun. Takes a lot of skill, and it's just an enjoyable combo to the car, especially. I'm looking forward to the new one as well.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen, a man that's not afraid to be sweating to the oldies with 130-degree track temperature at times. At the checkered flag, it was about 116, but it was hot, it was slick, and it was next-level driving from Donald Hickson Jr., always going to give you everything he has each time he loads up in prime time. We appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and look forward to speaking with you again really soon, bud.
Yep, have a good one, Matt.
You too, sir. Always a class act from him. And that's the type of drivers that we have here in the Dynasty Racing League. Joining me now, the man that almost had the undercut figured out, but may have showed his hand a little too soon. The driver out of Philadelphia, Joe Stafford. You got a copy?
Got a copy. How you doing?
Man, I don't know whether to be heartbroken or fired up for you. I almost thought you had it figured out, but you may have showed your hand too soon there, because the next time you came down pit road, Jurgensen was waiting on it. Talk to me about your drive tonight. Obviously, you were the closest man to the 31. You had great long-run speed in that race car. You got it done on pit road, and you were thinking outside of the box. I love the fact that you tried something different, and you rattled the 31 to the point where he kind of came off his game plan a little bit there at the end of this thing. Walk me through your race.
Yeah, it was a great race. I had a ton of fun. Gateway has never been one of my favorite tracks, but it's kind of turning into a track that I really like because it drives like a short track, and I feel like I do pretty well on short tracks. But yeah, tonight I was just trying to do something different than Nathan because he's a great driver, and I knew right off the bat how he was driving it into one. He was just carrying so much speed, and he was not moving that rear end at all, and he was just so fast, and he usually is. So, but whenever you're finishing second to Nathan Jurgensen, I guess you could take it as a win.
Win.
Kind of feels like it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more there. And, this track, you said it races like a short track, but I guess it produces wrecks like a super speedway. Did you happen to see that incident out there, the racetrack in the early going, that one race car literally went space shuttle mode? I'd never seen anything like that at a racetrack like this. Have you?
I didn't see it happen, but I can't wait to look back at the broadcast now.
I'm telling you, I had to play with the replays for about 5 to 6 minutes on that one, and I'm still stifled. But anyways, by being up towards the front, you keep yourself out of the mayhem. Talk to me about pit road under green flag conditions and trying to just attack and carry as much momentum as you can. What's it like walking that tightrope, that fine line, attacking under green flag conditions? Because that looked absolutely treacherous as well.
Oh yeah. You definitely got to practice it before, because if you don't practice it before, you're just gonna fly into the grass, or you're gonna go way too slow, and you could make or break your race on this pit road entry. But yeah, you just got to commit to it and hit your marks and send it. That's what I did.
Yes, you did. It was fun watching you and a couple other guys doing just that full send, going full-blown Cletus McFarland mode on the pit road attack and exit. That was fun to watch. Joe, congratulations on a phenomenal run. And like you said, finishing P2 to the 31, it feels like a win, and I'll back you up. I think you should have won that race, given the amount of effort. You know, that this was any other setting where the 31 wasn't out there on the racetrack, that drive from you was the one to beat. Unfortunately, not the case, as Nate was out there too, but a hell of a job, man. You got to be fired up. Before I cut you loose, the floor is yours.
Yeah, just thank you to James for running this league and giving me opportunity to race on Saturdays and in front of a broadcast. So thank you for broadcasting this, Matt. Shout out to my mom and dad for always supporting me, my friend.
Joey may have lost you there.
Oh, sorry. And
it's okay.
Shout out to Chester Water Authority as well for supporting me for sim racing. I still can't believe it. I say it all the time, but yeah, thank you to everyone.
Well, he's got the Water Authority to cool him down after he heats it up out there on the racetrack. Family and friends, as always, rooting him on in the live chat, and that is the one and only Joe Stafford out of Philadelphia, 5 and out here on the flat blades, or the flat track, as I like to call this. Have a great night. Look forward to speaking with you again really soon, and hopefully in victory lane sooner than later, buddy.
Yes, thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.
Always a pleasure to talk to Joe. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a man I don't even know what to say anymore. I'm lost for words. Nate, you got a copy there, brother.
You got me?
Try to dial him up here one more time. Nate Jurgensen, you got a copy, man, up in the booth.
Can you copy?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
I think you've officially rendered me speechless. I have never in my life, Nate, and look, I get it. You're a humble guy. You're all about helping each other. You're a true professional, and I appreciate that. But from someone else other than yourself, I haven't seen this type of just super madness out there on the racetrack. I mean, you are a force that I have never seen the likes of. I mean, that racetrack was 130 degrees at times, Nate. Everyone else, great drivers in this field. Their back of that race car at times is stepping out. It's doing the jig, the Indy snake, however you want to call it. I mean, the 5 ride was out there doing tandem drifts for half the run. And that race car is glued to the racetrack. The back of that car does not move. How do you do it, sir?
Well, I think it's a combination of just a car that puts a lot of things in the driver's hands that can create separation. Obviously, a league that's running long green flag runs. So if somebody kind of solves the puzzle a little bit more than the other person, that just gets multiplied by 100 lap run, and then I think the last thing is just like this combo of shorter tracks. Like I know this Gateway is not a short track, but it drives like one a lot. That combo of like high horsepower on a short track is just like, I like that a lot. It's a lot of fun. I'm smiling ear to ear, the end, 120 laps around here, and
heck yeah.
Same with Richmond, same with Martinsville, same with Bristol. Like it's just a lot of fun, and I think it suits my style. On some of the bigger tracks, like I'm not, I'm getting beat on the bigger tracks that I think require you to be a little bit more careful and keep the car, like really balanced. And at these shorter tracks, man, I'm throwing it in on entry and cranking it and shifting center. I'm, going as hard as I can on exit. And it just kind of suits my style, I think.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I noticed you were actually shifting out there in this Gen 4 car. Typically, some of the new wave or the new up and coming racers in iRacing that have experience with the next gen car, that's typically where we start to hear the discussion and the logic of shifting. However, you said, hey, I'm going to go back to the golden era and I'm going to take this H pattern and I'm going to throw it through the gearbox like we're at a road course. How are you still able? Because, I mean, from my experience, anytime at a track like this, especially when the racetrack is hot and you're out there shifting gears on top of it, that's going to put additional heat into those rear tires. How are you able to shift this car in a manner with already, unseasonably warm temperatures out there on the racetrack has yields a temperature north of 120, and yet you're still able to attack this racetrack as if it was under, night conditions and carry that momentum over the course of the run. I mean, that's incredible. Are you doing anything special with the way you're shifting this race car, or are you doing it just like it seems here on the broadcast?
No, nothing special. It's just, shifting doesn't inherently burn off your right rear more. It just makes it easier to burn off your right rear more. Kind of like steering ratio, you go for that faster ratio and people say, oh, I'll burn off your right front. Well, technically, no, it just makes it easier to burn off your right front. So you can still keep the rear tires under you shifting. It's just harder. It puts you more on edge. But I just like the feel of the car at the higher RPM and just being able to drive the car with my right foot. When I'm in fourth gear, I did some laps and stayed in fourth gear, and you just don't have that responsiveness in the back end of the car and, being that low RPM. And it's just kind of, I don't know if shifting or not shifting was faster, but it just suits more my style, and also it's more fun, gives you more things to do. I like that.
Hey, well said. And see, folks, this is why I love talking to this guy, because I was always told that downshifting puts more heat in the tires. However, it's not necessarily the downshift. It's about having the discipline and the throttle control. It makes it easier. So I always take what Nate says. I put it to work over the course of the upcoming week. And Nate, congratulations out there. Another dominating performance. I appreciate your insight and feedback. Before I cut you loose, who do you want to thank? Who helps you get it done on the 31? The floor is yours.
I just want to thank A51, my team, and obviously James and the rest of the league, drivers, everybody watching, and most of all, Matt. Thanks for calling the high flying, high octane action week in, week out. We appreciate that. We'll see you next week, man. Charlotte, I don't think there's a better combination on the sim than these cars in Charlotte.
Charlotte was made for this race car, and I could not agree with you more. And I'm looking forward to next week when you guys tackle the iconic 1.5 mile oval out of Concord, North Carolina. That's going to be a thriller. So make sure you tune in, folks, for all of that right here on Racers Elite Network. And since Nate kind of finished the line for me, we'll go ahead. We'll cut you loose, brother. You have a great week, and we'll see you next time in Charlotte.
Take care, man.
Always appreciate speaking with the driver of the 31. As once again, folks, he is the man on top. And very rarely do you see a driver as good as he is that's openly and willing to share all the little tips and tricks, part of which makes him great. Official margin of victory tonight, 11.49 seconds. Think about that. And especially the competition he's going up against. Joe Stafford, Donald Hickson Jr., Taylor Butcher Benjamin. The list goes on and on and on. If you iRace and you pay attention to the officials, you see a lot of these drivers consistently at the top of the speed charts in iRacing on a global scale in this race car. That's what Nate Jurgensen does on a week in and week out basis. Just to kind of put that in perspective. Again, want to thank all of you folks for tuning in. Cannot do this without the help of strategic partners. Team Watson Racing Setups are official setup shop. You want to put some new vibe in your ride? Check out Black Magic. Get out of the static. David Dunwoody and the guys get you some new wrap for your ride. And remember, it's good for 2/10 out there on the racetrack. And as the late, great Tony Trapasso used to say, as you walk down the road of life this week, do us all a favor. Don't play in traffic. And we'll see you next time, right here on Redline Racing Network.